Thanks for joining us on the media review segment of the program. Today we shall be examining the recommendations of the just concluded 55th ordinary session of the Ecowas Authority of Heads of State and Government. What are the recommendations? My guest, the manager, current affairs of the NTA, Mr. Makut Simon Marcham, will be providing answers to this and other questions. It's nice to have you on the program.
Thank you very much, Lizzie.
All right, what was the outcome of the session?
Okay, let's begin from the agenda of the 55th Summit of the Heads of State and Government of the Ecowas.
Okay.
First, the issue of security, the reform of the Ecowas Commission. Thirdly, the issue of the economy. Okay. I think broadly these are issues that we can say have been in the front burner for Ecowas. And so when they met, it's a continuation of a discourse they have been having over time. Even the last summit, the 54th, it was a similar issue. All you have is a progress report of what has happened. And so we can take them one after the other. If you look at insecurity, they came up with far-reaching recommendations to say that this time around it's about intelligence sharing. They are looking at a situation where the level at which they share intelligence between West African countries should be faster and should be more coordinated. Countries tend to isolate on national sovereignty and work perhaps within the confines of their national interest. If you remember the multinational joint task force that has Nigeria, Chad, Niger, and so on, you see, that's a united front that has been confronting Boko Haram. But what about the larger terrorism in the Sahel? Talk about the terrorism in Mali, and which has been a problem. How is that coordinated? And you see the infiltration happens across West Africa. So you have Burkina Faso having terrorist attacks. In fact, what you have called Boko Haram has transformed to ISWAP now, and Islamic State in West Africa. So that kind of challenge makes them think that they need to have more coordinated organization. They need to have more synergy in terms of their resources and to remove the barriers, things that really block them from going into each country and then passing intelligence as and when due. Talk about the economy. There has been the talk for ECOWAS single currency, the ECO.
Yes. The
name has been agreed upon. And in this last summit, I think that has been reaffirmed, that the name is ECO. But when will it take off? That is the challenge. They have been having various issues. You know, countries have been dilly-dallying on whether to accept its operations within their own. And if you know, the CFA is widely used in West Africa, so how does that now compound? And then countries have also been looking at their own national currencies. So in this summit, they have mandated the central banks of the West African countries to finalize all those gray areas to see that this takes off.
Okay, now you talked about sharing of information. It's quite low within the region. But don't you think this is, to an extent, right?
It is right to the extent that every country is independent as far as sovereignty is concerned.
Okay.
But it may not be right when it comes to the threat that...
Transnational threats.
Yes, that everybody gets a share of it. For instance, one of the recommendations they came up with is the issue of transhuman migration. That's the herdsmen, farmer clashes.
Yes.
It's not only in Nigeria.
Yes.
And so when the herdsmen move from one country to the other, and remember also that there's free movement of goods and people. So if that protocol is there, what is the modus operandi? Some countries will not welcome people coming to their country with animals or with goods without some form of checks and balances. So they are also thinking that, yes, countries they are right to talk about their sovereignty, but how do we tackle a larger problem? In Katsina, for instance, in Zamfara, you have bandits who can strike and then run to the neighboring country. So if they run there, should we allow them to go and settle there, hibernate again and come back? So those are issues they are dealing with, and they recognize that these are challenges they have to tackle head on. And one of the things is to share intelligence and to be able to move perhaps across borders, just like the multinational joint task force is doing in the Northeast, to be able to move around and coordinate to tackle this crime, because it is really a challenge.
Okay. Now, let's talk about Guinea-Bissau, the political crisis in Guinea-Bissau. Now, most times when we talk about African leaders and governance, it's always different from what we see outside. Why is this so?
Guinea-Bissau is a special case. It's one country that has not had stability of governance, apart from coups and counter-coups. So this current government is one that has been, at least got some stability. But the main issue is that they have not been able to hold a presidential election for quite a long time. It has been shifted now and then. And remember, President Muhammadu Buhari handed over as Ecowas chairman in this summit. But in his 1 year of chairmanship, he had sent several special envoys to to Guinea-Bissau to negotiate how these parliamentary elections, because they start from parliamentary elections and then they get to the presidential. In fact, it was a lot of challenge holding those parliamentary elections, which were held amidst some bickering, but then eventually it was held. But now the presidential elections, for them to sit down and hold that election is a problem. So this summit has actually given a date under which the current government should hand over to perhaps a caretaker government. And how that works out is what we will need to see. But Nigeria, Ecowas is very much interested in the stability of Guinea-Bissau, because it's quite an interesting place for the security and safety of our sub-region. If you know, over time there has been a lot of what do you call it, drug peddling, if you like. Yes, drug peddling. Transportation. I mean, it became a hub. So it's like if there's lawlessness there, it breeds the kind of crime that spreads across the region. So Nigeria doesn't want that to happen, and Ecowas doesn't want that to happen. So they are mandating the government to have, if they have a stable government there will be less of that. And so they have given them, I think, the next 6 months or so. And also the ECOMIG, who is the ECOWAS peacekeeping force, they have extended their tenure to 6 months, at least for now. Even the one in Mali has also had its tenure extended for 6 months, just to ensure that these elections are held and that country has a smooth transition. If that happens, this will be one moment where at least West Africa can say it's moving forward. Particularly for Guinea-Bissau. Okay, now, since President Muhammadu Buhari has handed over the mantle of leadership to the Nigerian president, how can he consolidate on the successes made so far? Well, you know that as far as leadership of the ECOWAS is concerned, it is one that people have to talk to each other and tell them frankly what it is. President Muhammadu Buhari has, in his 1 year of leadership, intervened in Benin Republic, in Togo, where political leadership is, where they tell each other the truth about political stability, the need to hold free and fair elections. Just like Nigeria had to lead by example by ensuring that our elections were held. Remember when our elections were shifted forward, there was a lot of worry. Even when they were asking the president to sign the electoral amendment bill, or the bill, the president said, no, by ECOWAS protocol, the time for you to do that has passed. So a lot of this will be on the shoulders of President Yusufu of Niger to ensure that elections are held in West Africa as and when due, and then there's stability so that he can now be talking to his colleagues and intervening where possible. He can appoint, even President Muhammadu Buhari can be appointed, just like in Guinea-Bissau. Our president appointed his colleague in Guinea-Conakry, who Alpha Conde, who was the mediator in the crisis, political crisis in Guinea-Bissau. So they have a lot to do, and then this economic work, they need to push it further, okay. And then the Ecowas as a commission need to be strengthened, reduce spending, because most of the money comes from donors. So we cannot be living on borrowed funds. So let's live according to our means. And so I think that those are aspects that the new Ecowas chairman has to consolidate. Yes.
All right. Mr. Makut Simon Marcham, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And don't forget, we can only build a sub-region through good governance, peace, and stability.
Well, all that begins well ends well. Lizzie?
All right. I actually listened to this maiden man say some few things, and I think our youths now have hope. Inclusion is key. And then big money for small businesses, interesting. So there's going to be job employment. A little bit of, most of our youth will be more relaxed because they now have a source where income comes from. So I think it's a very good initiative.
And fundamentally, talked about the fact that if you have passion, drive the passion forward to achieve.
Yes,
well,
you must drive it.
I believe you had it insightful today, and for setting agenda for this 56th Ecowas Summit. Well, you heard it all from the expert, who is our correspondent on the foreign desk of the NTA. Well, like we said, Nigeria's president did a lot, and now we hope and believe the next chairman will do also to carry on from that perspective.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks for watching. Always be guests. On behalf of all of us,